Hey, Judy.
I'm here. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. This is Judy Goldberg. I'm Jay Rathman. We have another episode of the Legal Authority Podcast. Today, get ready. We have an amazing guest. She is dropping golden nugget after golden nugget for marketing, even beyond what we're doing with her. And she talks about how she was able to quickly elevate her firm and get clients when she started. And she started literally the day of the pandemic starting. March 20th, when everything was getting shut down.
Which is so amazing to grow a business at that time.
Yep. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in. We're going to introduce you to Melody Swilling. And this is an amazing episode. Make sure that you guys pay attention.
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Roll it.
Welcome to the latest edition of the Legal Authority Podcast, presented by TheLegalAuthority.com. Here are your hosts, Jay Rathman and Judith Goldberg.
Welcome to another episode of the Legal Authority Podcast. Judy Goldberg is here. My name is Jay Rathman. We've got lots of great stuff to go through with you today. We have an amazing guest. Her name is Melody Swilling. Wait till you hear the story that I have with her personally. It's phenomenal. She's a longtime client of ours at the Legal Authority. And of course, we only work with law firms. That's why we always have attorneys on. And she's really, really successful. And, she's grown her firm in the last couple of years that we've been working together, which is exciting. And, so I'm excited to have her on. How was your weekend?
My weekend was great. I'm really looking forward to having a conversation with Melody. That's great. We share our type of practice and as solos that expanded. So this is exciting. This will be great.
Yep. Melody, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
Good to hear. So, of course, your practice has exploded, and that's super exciting. And let me start off by saying what I was going to tell you earlier. I remember the very first conversation that you and I had. It was a Saturday. I was sitting at home.
July weekend.
Yep, 4th of July weekend. And you told me the horror story that you had with whoever was working on your website. You basically, I don't remember your exact words, but you made me promise you that we weren't going to do that to you and that we were going to get behind this and really make it work for you. I made you that promise, and here we are.
Yes, I had been through some big box. I had been through some personal recommendation people who were incredibly expensive, and really I saw the decline on the Google results versus the increase that I've seen. So it was a big leap, but I do appreciate the transition. What really was a good touch for me was that you gave me a current client's personal number.
Yep. And
they took my call on a holiday weekend and, really told me, how valuable the services were. So that was a nice touch. And it was great that a client was willing to do that on a holiday weekend as well.
I think you talked to Sam Rouse, as a matter of fact.
I think so.
Yep.
It's been a few years, which is a good thing that it's been a few years.
Yep. Awesome. Yeah. So when we started, I believe you were a solo as well. It was you and your wonderful assistant, I think, right?
Yes.
And then since then, let's talk about your growth.
Yes. So I now have 3 associates. I have a senior associate and 2 younger associates, which is very helpful to have the different experience levels and personality styles, and 2 paralegals, a legal assistant, and an office manager.
That's crazy. So you're going to be a Fortune 500 law firm at the rate we're going.
Well, we'll see. We want controlled growth that
Absolutely.
keeps our clients at the heart of it, and you never want to be so big that you don't have that personal touch.
Sure.
Especially in family law.
Yep.
It's important for me to know if one of my associates' cases has something going on, I know about the case.
Right.
I can help. I can weigh in. I can brainstorm with them. To me, that's that important. Brainstorming session is extra important in family law of all the fields of law.
Yeah, and we know how busy you are because I don't think myself or Stephen have had a conversation with you in probably a year. You have us working with I believe your office manager, right? Who's fantastic. Yes. But, I mean, it took us a while to even schedule you for today. It took a holiday to help us.
It did take a holiday.
Yeah.
Yes,
So I'm very, very grateful that you're joining us, and we're going to really dig into your story here, and this is going to be great for anybody that's thinking about going out on their own, or maybe somebody went out on their own. Melody's going to tell you the right way. So let's go back. When did you decide that you wanted to become an attorney, and what kind of caused that?
Well, so I have a Spanish literature undergrad degree. So as you can imagine, that requires some sort of graduate school to do anything where if you want to eat or pay rent. And so I had been at the University of Georgia, and they have a very literature-based romance language department.
Are you a Bulldogs fan?
I am. Right. I am. I'm loving the season. Yeah.
The last three.
The last three. The season of football for me is, just Alabama losing is a season of itself.
Absolutely.
It's a regular 2023 football season.
Yeah.
But I had really enjoyed the linguistics department. I enjoyed the study of the languages. I studied some Portuguese as well. And I was going to walk on to the master's program, and it was not really a good fit, although I loved the professors there. So I started expanding my thought process as to what would be a good fit to add on with a literature-based degree. And law school kept percolating in the back of my mind. My uncle had his own estate law practice in Oklahoma. So I was familiar with someone who had run a law firm. Although he always stayed solo, that was his path. Right. And so I decided to go to law school because I needed that master's degree. Yep. I needed something.
It's not like you knew your whole life when you were a little girl that you wanted to be a lawyer, or your family said, hey, you always argue, you should just be a lawyer. You didn't know till your early 20s that that's the direction you wanted to go.
Well, I will say I have a little bit of a different journey. I graduated high school, undergrad, and law school all early. So
cool.
Say early 20s. I think I sat for the LSAT when I was 19. So
wow.
A little bit different. Yeah.
That's awesome.
But I was always precocious. I was always, hard on myself because I graduated high school early. Even when I changed grades in high school, I was still top, I believe, 50. It's been a hot minute, if you can believe it, having practiced law for 15 years. I'm going back into the archives on that one. But I was always really motivated. So I had the markings of an attorney. I had the markings of a litigator. Just no one connected the dots. I knew leadership skills, strong, assertive, hardworking child. But I loved languages. I loved the study of how we could put something together, how we could analyze it. So it really was there. It's just I took a different path to put the label on it.
Got it. So you go to law school, you get your law degree, you pass the bar. What's next? Well,
so it was 2008. So the only industry that was thriving was consumer bankruptcy.
Right.
So I went to work at a large, for the Southeast of the United States, law firm doing consumer bankruptcy in a high volume. And the good news about that is that it really is pretty straightforward litigation. It's codified. You're doing a lot of templates. You're doing a lot of things becoming rote. And even though it's in federal court, it kind of felt like baby court. And then that's not to diminish our colleagues who do consumer bankruptcy because they're in the weeds doing really hard stuff. Right. And they've been through some really hard things with their clients. But as far as litigation, I didn't feel like it was exposing and stretching my efforts. And occasionally you would get a adversary where a creditor would sue, or you'd have a U.S. trustee audit, which was a little bit of a panic attack.
Sure.
But you really had a lot of doing the same thing over and over. So it was a good transition to see what litigation is like, because I went to law school thinking I was going to be in-house general counsel at something like Coca-Cola, and I was going to do employment law, or heaven forbid, labor law in the South with all, 3 unions we have.
Right.
So I didn't really have litigation on my horizon. And getting to bankruptcy, because that's where the jobs were, was a way to realize, this kind of roller coaster of emotions to get through a case, to get through a motions hearing as you have in bankruptcy court, and make an argument and do the research. And the interesting thing was, we had a mediation in bankruptcy. And that was the big cool thing at the firm, because in consumer bankruptcy, you're not going to mediations. You're not really doing that. And so we had some interesting types of cases, but I knew I was not growing there. I was going to sit stagnant and not really expand my skill set.
So is that when you decided to go out on your own?
No. So I was in bankruptcy court one day, and an attorney approached me about joining their smaller practice that had consumer bankruptcy, personal injury, and family law.
Got it.
And so I transitioned there for several years and helped out with all three departments. Realized I did not like personal injury. Anybody who sat through a personal injury mediation will probably know the difference. That it's very dry. You're talking numbers often. Very different than a family law.
Very high volume as well.
Yes. A lot of demand letters. I had clerked at a personal injury firm in law school, so I knew the demand letters are very monotonous. You're doing a lot of soft tissue damage. Or degenerative disc disease, I believe, is something you put in there all the time, which is gravity.
Right.
So I didn't love that area. And when I had the opportunity to go to a mid-sized firm that practiced only family law, I took it, and I never looked back. I loved family law, but I saw the writing on the wall.
Right.
That firm wasn't looking for equity partners. The owner didn't want to share. She actually had a conversation about how she wasn't going to share, and all the partners were non-equity. So that didn't.
So then how are you a partner if you're non-equity?
Aligning. Right. Yeah, it's name only.
Yeah.
Name only. You have some clout as compared to the associates, but it's not really much.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And so I also found that every time her and I would talk about case strategy, we would differ on what the best approach was.
Right.
And I left, and I was going to partner with a friend who we realized were not aligned for our business practices. Had been burned in the past. So I decided to set out on my own the day before Georgia shut down for the pandemic.
Oh, goodness.
I was racing to the bank to set up my IOLTA account.
Right.
And at that time, if anyone can recall, we had to set appointments because the banks were already closing down that March.
Right.
So they didn't want people.
March 20th. I think that's a date nobody will ever forget. It changed the world.
So it was crazy. It was stressful, but it was kind of beautiful in that I had a smaller practice. I remember sitting there helping my, at the time, kindergartner do his work, which any parent who worked and helped during the pandemic, you know what I'm talking about.
Sure.
It was a different stress. So I'm trying to help him on his computer while I'm briefing an appellate brief for a client.
Right.
And I don't know that I would have had that flexibility in a mid-sized firm's practice.
Right. So you started going right into the mouth of the pandemic.
Mouth of the pandemic.
That had to be nerve-wracking. Like, my God, everything's shutting down, the world's shutting down, and I'm starting a business and I have no income. Like, how do I do this? So what did you do? How did you get through that?
I realized I needed to set up a website first, and I figured out a lot of the tech that you need. One of the greatest things I figured out to do for myself when I was truly a solo by myself was an app called Calendly, which you can backdoor with Zapier, which is an app that talks to other apps. If there's not an automatic connection.
Right.
Learning those two is life-saving. Because if you can send out your Calendly link,
people can't book appointments to talk to you.
But it's a way to maybe have someone on your website talk and give you the information so you can do a conflict check before you personally answer the phone.
Sure.
It's a way for you to build your network resources instead of spending 5 emails back and forth trying to figure out when you're going to have coffee with this CDFA. Here, get on my calendar. It's a great tool, and that helped me a lot. It helped me organize. If a client needed a phone call, here, just get on my calendar. Here's my availability.
So how were you driving people to the website?
So a lot of it was still going to be referral based initially. So I do a lot via referrals. A good chunk of my business has always been that way. Once I set out on my own, and that helped. It stagnates, though. You're going to hit that plateau, I think, pretty quickly, where you've got to get out there and network.
Right. And then you hired an agency to help you with your site, right?
Yes.
Yep.
And so I had someone try one of the bigger people that target attorneys, and
I know exactly who it is, but I'm not going to mention them. I don't want to.
What? No, we don't. Yeah, they Frankensteined my beautiful website that I had a web designer friend who did a great job with initially, and really underperformed. I tried some of the referral lead places. I think that those, for me, in my experience, were a waste of resources.
And for the people that are listening, remember, she was still brand new. So she was building her practice and spending all this money. And unfortunately, it wasn't working for you.
It wasn't. I mean, it was working enough to where I was functioning, but I was not thriving.
Right.
And so that's the difference, I think, is getting to the point where you're not worried about what if someone doesn't call today.
Right. So then you were with them for a while, and then you and I had that conversation that I referenced earlier. Talk to me about, how you felt about things going forward from that point, right?
So I had a little bit of trust issues, and
oh, I get it. I understand why.
I remember in our conversation, the excuse was that Google changed the algorithms. And that's what I kept hearing for like 3 months. Is Google changed the algorithms. That's why the call numbers are going down. That's why you're not getting the clicks. And I felt like
that's partially true, but there's a lot of things they could have done to anticipate that, like we do. So.
Yeah, it's fine to say that, but at some point, 3 months out, and there's no upward momentum.
No, I agree.
It felt like we were just dying on the vine.
Yeah.
So,
Judy was in a similar situation.
Yes, I went with several agencies. Promises made, promises not kept. I had them in my office every couple of months when I was when I finally came back from court, looking at the calendar, looking at the new clients, the new consultations. Where is it? Why isn't the phone ringing? And it wasn't until I made contact with Jay, which is a story until itself. Jay, you can sell that.
Sure.
But there was an exponential change. It was amazing change.
We got some quick wins too.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, so I've, as you said, Jay, I have truly not been as available to have the meetings on this. I've seen the reports. I'm seeing the emails of things that you need to review and approve, which is something no other firm had done.
Yep.
And that
we won't post content without your approval. We just don't.
Well, and it just the type of stuff that you're doing is different. I felt like they were just managing the ad spend on Google, which
we're not even running ads for you.
Else doing that.
So it's all organic?
Yeah, everything we're doing for Melody, I believe, is organic, right? We're not even running ads for you.
So,
yeah.
I believe so. And so with the growth I've seen, I actually went to lunch. A colleague of mine was leaving her longtime firm. It was a very small firm. She was in partnership talks, and I think it just went sideways, which happens. I get it. And she actually made the statement, you might appreciate this, that she's like, on Google, you're killing it. What are you doing?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, we do like that. That's cool.
Yeah. I think also one thing to think about, and this is a moving part that I had right before you, I believe. I'm trying to remember the time period. But put your office location somewhere where you're not going to be eating the same area, right? Because there's little strips where there's all family law attorneys, all therapists, what have you, and everyone
try to get out of there. Yeah,
together, get out there.
Yep, that was smart.
Where I'm at, I'm super convenient to my life, to the highway, to get to the courthouses, which in Atlanta, nothing's convenient. Everything's 45 minutes away from itself, and so where I'm at, I know who I'm competing with, and it is significantly less than some of my colleagues who are all in the same high-rise building,
Right.
which seems to me you're paying a lot of money to then compete even more expensively on Google.
Right.
It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I mean, you don't need to run ads if you do it organically the right way. Right. So overall, how's your experience been with us? I mean, obviously we've been together almost 2 years. So I think probably pretty good, right?
Right. Absolutely. And it's one of those things that I'm not stressed about whether this was an investment. You know,
Right.
there's certainly ad campaigns that you do. You may try a billboard, you may try a sponsorship. There's little things that you may try to help boost that Google presence so that people have that recognition to want to go and Google you.
Yep.
But this is one that I'm not stressed about. I'm
Right.
not thinking, am I getting the ROI?
Because you just know it's coming every single month.
It's coming. We're seeing it. We may talk about, hey, this is what we're seeing, and it's responsive on the back end.
Right.
So when I get a response saying, hey, yeah, we're seeing this, do we want to try XYZ?
Yep.
Which we really haven't even had to have that much of that conversation, I'd say 6 months.
Probably. Yeah. I mean, I know Stephen works with your staff a lot. I mean,
Yes.
there's constant communication, like weekly.
Yeah, he does a great job communicating, reminding us if we're overdue on getting something back for approval.
Right.
So
Cool.
I would say to Jay, I'm interested in practicing law. I'm in the court. I'm talking with clients. I'm doing documents, running the business, the marketing end. Having not been educated in marketing, digital marketing particularly, I needed someone to take it off my plate as a job. Just do it right. And the only one I found was Jay. It's just amazing, the response. So what I'm hearing from you is that you're able to practice law.
absolutely, I'm able to practice law, expand on the areas I want, and then have associates to help on the cases that maybe are not as inspiring. It's a very straightforward, uncontested, and we can help that family. But do they need the most senior attorney at the firm handling it? No, I can give some insight, and they still get the value add, and I can still get the cases that excite me.
Yep.
And it's using everyone's skill set and time more efficiently. I think that's the biggest thing, because you can work on the business or in the business, and
I agree.
there's a balance there.
Yep.
That's great. That's
So-
so great. They're very exciting.
Yeah. Here's something else that's exciting. I finally just published a book.
Congratulations.
It's kind of cool. It's all about law firm marketing, right? And I'll send you a copy, Melody. And actually, anybody else that's listening, just go to thelegalauthority.com/book and fill it out. You don't even have to pay shipping and handling. I'll just take care of it. I'll send it to you. But it's a cool resource. It's on Amazon for $30, so why pay for it if I can give it to you for free, right? But we'll send you a copy, Melody, just so that you have it. I know at heart you're a lawyer, but you understand the marketing side. You get it more than most attorneys do.
Well, thank you.
Well, I have a question for you. For those that are listening, the new lawyers, the lawyers that are practicing a while and they need some new tips, can you point to any particular thing that in your practice that you did or came about that was pivotal in your success?
Yes, I actually can. Know your client. Know what client that you're wanting to attract. So we have a saying at our firm that we keep the children at the heart of the solution.
Yep. We call that an ICP, Ideal Customer Profile.
Yep.
Yep.
And so what happens is we work really closely with some mom Facebook groups and mom networking groups, so business leaders that are moms. And what happens is that they share, knowing who's going to be sharing your name in the rooms when you're not there is the ones that you want to be concentrating on. So if that's, a mom's group for family law, that's usually a pretty popular area.
Yep.
That's very helpful, is knowing who I want to attract, who I want to work with, what type of cases I want, and then finding all the components that can help me get there. Is that sponsoring a mom festival local mom festival.
Great ideas.
Sponsoring some school PTOs, because I'll tell you, for family law, the schools are a resource.
Absolutely,
Yes.
because the moms are so involved with their kids. They're at the schools.
And teachers.
Yep.
Teachers have family lives too. Teachers
That's so
get
awesome.
divorces.
Yep.
Excellent.
That's a brilliant
Excellent.
idea. I never
Wow.
would have thought of that.
Wow.
That is a
then-
brilliant idea.
I'm in the schools as a guardian ad litem. I want them to be familiar with me so that
Yep.
if I'm asking to meet with a child or asking to see documents, they know my name and say she knows what she's doing.
Yep.
And
So
so
you-
it's a win for my entire practice, not just my
Yeah.
divorce practice, my custody practice.
No, I think that's a brilliant idea. Facebook groups that focus on moms and so forth. That's your audience.
That's my audience, and I love the dad groups. I can't personally join them because I am not a dad.
Right.
But knowing and having your staff know, have your paralegals have cards. One of my paralegals, her husband is a master marketer for his own business. She's got cards, so when she goes with him, someone will say, "Oh, what do you do?" And she says, "I'm a paralegal. We do family law. Here's my card."
Yep. Hand your card to everybody you meet. I agree.
Everybody. The biggest thing I've also found is have a digital card. I have been out, with my small clutch on a weekend,
Yeah.
and I run into a mortgage lender who says, "We need to get a coffee. Do you have a card on you?" No, I don't. That's not the right purse today.
Right.
This is something that we run into. Figure out which digital card you have. Now I've got a digital one. I could just tap and share my contact information for them.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's getting popular. A lot of people are doing that because everybody has smartphones, and it's so easy to share your digital card now.
It is. And then they can share that link to their friend or neighbor who
Yep.
was asking.
Yep, absolutely. So, obviously, you're super successful. We've gone through the whole process. What advice would you give somebody who was Melody back in 2008, deciding that you're going to be a lawyer and passing the bar, and now maybe you're working as a prosecutor or working in a small firm or what have you, and you're kind of thinking, well, gee, I think I want to go out on my own. What would you tell them?
Take the people out who have done it before you for lunch. Ask them those questions. Ask them who they use. Ask them what they wish they had done,
Right.
what they liked they did. Go to the networking events. But ask, no man's an island. And what I know is my colleagues were willing to sit down for lunch with me and talk to me about why it was a good idea.
So now what's going to happen is everybody listening is going to want to fly to Atlanta and take you to lunch.
Well, I do Zoom coffee meetings with people all over the nation. I'm
Sure.
part of the Amicable Divorce Network group, which
Yep.
is something that's growing and I love. And so I'm constantly, anytime I see a new member, I'm reaching out. I'm originally from Texas. If I see someone that jumps on from Texas, I'm like, I want to know you. So
Yep.
that's one of the things, just network and network within your industry, because prosecutors, the criminal defense attorneys that have left, I'm sure there's enough cases, unfortunately.
Yep.
For family law, we can only represent one side of the family.
Right.
It is what it is. Naturally, we can't represent both in at least Georgia, in most states. So there's room, and people are retiring, and judges, they can tell you what they don't like from people that have appeared in their courtroom.
Sure.
I know a lot of our judge colleagues tell us that they feel very ostracized at networking events and cocktail hours and CLEs.
Yep.
Ask them what someone did really well that impressed them. Those are the ways to learn. Just
Learn from successful people that have done what you want to do.
absolutely, and take them to lunch, and not because you're trying to get a job with them, but because you want to learn from them. Because I have colleagues I can call up today and say, I need to brainstorm with you.
Sure.
Excellent
awesome.
strategies. Excellent.
Yep.
So how much of your say your week is spent on your getting the new client? Marketing.
Marketing as in networking consultations.
Including that, yes.
I'd say some weeks, a third to half.
significant amount of hours that you're not clocking. However, your associates are.
They are. And
Yeah.
so I am very candid with my consultations that I work as a team. I might be a mediator and I'm on Zoom because we all pivoted to use Zoom and the pandemic, and some people have latched onto that. And so I might be a mediator and I take a break to grab a coffee, run down the hall, and they can brainstorm with me. So it's a resource, and I explain it's a great way for them to have their retainer go further at a lower billable rate. And so if you just are candid about how it's going to be a team approach, or if it is a handoff,
Right.
I think that's the best way to maximize the number of cases you can handle.
Yep.
Because you're only going to grow so much as a true solo.
Right. No, I agree.
That's right.
And when Stephen told me the other day how far you've come since we started working together, and I know that we're just a very small part of that because you obviously do a lot of other things that are really successful. You just spent 20 minutes talking about it, and I think it's the best idea I've heard on this whole podcast, to be honest with you. You have just exploded, and you're going to keep going. I mean, I think there's probably another office in your future. I mean, you get it on how to grow and use controlled growth and all that, and I am super excited to just be a small part of that.
Thank you. Yes, we are busting at the seams right now, and so we're certainly brainstorming.
Judy, you want to go to Georgia and help her out a little bit?
No, I retired. I must say, when I was transitioning to retirement and moving, an anticipated move to Florida, and I was kind of going to both places during the year, I wanted to open up a divorce mediation practice, not pass a third bar, but just practice down here. And Jay was the first one that I called. I mean, I've known him and been doing business with him for 20 years, so it was a natural. Use him as that resource too, just as an extra plug, because it's
practice in Florida. That's great to know.
Yeah, it was just amazing, and I had both for about 10 years websites that he developed for both areas. Which worked out beautiful. I mean, he really straightened out some awful moves that prior agencies had done, but only the business crystallized with Jay. And once the business started to come in, I said, well, I got to get a place to live down here. And that made it a much faster transition for me to retirement. Not full retirement, because I like, the action.
Yep. I mean, you work with us. It's been
great. I still do mediation.
Yeah, and you work with us with a lot of our clients and stuff.
That's right.
Sure.
A lot of fun, and I'm an elected official too. But it just gives you he's just a great resource for other things too. So if you didn't know, I'm just plugging it in. But you seem to have a fabulous marketing strategy, and I know that our audience is going to benefit so much by listening today.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. So, Melody, before we let you go, anything else that you want to get out there, that just any sort of advice or leave it at this for anybody that's thinking about either going on their own or who's recently gone out on their own?
I'd say, it makes me nervous, and this is probably just because law schools beat it into you, but it makes me nervous for the people who hang their shingle straight out of the bar.
Right. Because law school doesn't teach you how to become a lawyer.
That's right.
In private practice.
It doesn't teach you how to print a stamp onto stamps.com envelope. It doesn't teach you how to set up the FedEx account to serve that subpoena statutory overnight. Those things that seem obvious, but when you're the only one and you have to figure out how to do it, it adds so much. Or even just organizing your file the way you would want it with a paralegal or legal assistant.
Right.
That's one of the things you don't realize what you don't know. But I'd say, if you're finding yourself at a firm where you are doing the math on how much you are personally bringing in, I'm not saying what the company's bringing in from Google leads, but direct referrals, repeat clients
that are coming to you.
They're coming to you.
Yep.
And you're starting to do the math, and the math is not mathing. You need to be having these lunches with your colleagues about how to get out of the rat race and find something that works better for you, because your business is there.
Got it. So I'm going to leave you with this, Melody. And I didn't plan on this. This is just an idea because you are such a good marketer and you understand all of it. The marketing side, the operation side, like the whole ecosystem of running and building a firm. I'm going to challenge you to think of something else that we could do that might help you.
Goodness.
Maybe some marketing automation. We have a new platform for that. I should have Stephen reach out to you on that.
Yes, that's interesting.
Yeah, so the marketing automation is like, nowadays everybody has their phone with them all the time. And what I think, and I've actually done this, is like right on your website, we should build, we call it a container, but a graphic that says, text me your case, right? Or text me about your case. And we give you a local phone number that's tied to an app in your phone. So anybody that's on your team that is responsible to talk to potential new clients, all they need to have is the app. So when someone texts you, right, about the case, about their case, right, whether they text you or they use your chat widget, it comes in to this marketing automation platform. We can literally automate replies, and we can use AI. So we can use some basic automation.
About some of this, but
we have all this now.
We need to talk about this. Yes.
Yeah. We're going to add this for you. But here's the idea. So we can come up with a campaign that's, for example, new case text messages. That's what you call it. And we set it up so that when someone replies, we get their name, their email address, their phone number, and they text you about their case. Well, the automation then automatically says, hey, this is Attorney Melody Swing. I have some more questions about your case. Do you have some time for a chat later today or tomorrow? That's automated. That goes right out like 3 minutes later. Mm-hmm. Well, what's the biggest stigma that people have with lawyers? I can never get a hold of my lawyer. Well, now, if I'm that person that texted her about the case, I think she just took the time to reply to me like in 3 minutes, right? So I start saying, yeah, okay, I have time later today. I have time tomorrow, whatever. And this is where the AI comes in. It learns how you're going to answer these people, and then it just starts doing it. It learns what you're saying to people based on what they're asking you, and it's incredible.
I wonder, is there a way to do it when they give their name and the opposing party or parties' names that it could do a cross-reference conflict check? Because that's what initial chat. Yeah, because that's interesting because you don't want to get too much information before you're clear.
Right.
But that's fantastic. That's a good time saver. And
it's huge.
The communication, because we do texting some, but it's a lot of manual right now.
Yeah. Well, here's the coolest thing about it, right? You have multiple people at your firm that would be potential touch points. Even if one of your associates isn't the one that's going to meet with them, here's the point. If 6 people in your firm have this app, 6 people are notified when a new potential client responds, whether it's in the middle of a conversation or a brand new conversation. And here's the interesting part. So let's say I work for you, Melody, and a text comes in and the automation replies to it, and then the potential client asks another question and you happen to see it, so you see the app, so you hit it, you jump on it, answer their question. And then they have another question. Well, now you're busy, but I'm notified because I have the app. All of us are notified that there's a new question. So I can jump in there and see what that conversation's been so far, how you answered it, and then I can answer the question because you're busy. The person thinks they're talking to the same person. They think they're texting with you the whole time, but it could be every member of your staff. It's pretty cool.
Very interesting.
Excellent.
Yeah. No leads fall through the cracks doing it that way.
No, absolutely. Yeah, that's fantastic. And I like that the AI learns that, I haven't really explored the AI.
That's amazing.
I've seen the horror stories of a few attorneys trying to use it to write briefs.
Yeah, I would never do that. I mean,
No.
for what this is, I think it's perfect. I mean, you talked about Calendly in the very beginning of our call. We actually can send your calendar link to the person to actually book a 15-minute consultation over Zoom. And it ties to either your Google Calendar or to your Outlook calendar, so it only shows them times that you have available. If you're not going to be available at a certain time, just block it off. Super easy. If you're going to court.
We can talk to Stephen because we've got the things that we can connect real easily, I'm sure. Yeah.
What do you use for a CRM?
So we use Clio.
Yeah, we can tie this to Clio for you.
Yeah. They've got that one link that goes through our website already. So it's just
Yep.
one quick extra step.
Yep. We can actually integrate the whole thing with Clio. We can do a two-way sync. So like a new potential client comes in, we get their name, address, and phone number. When you're done with that conversation, we push that right into Clio, and it creates a new contact.
Okay, now you're speaking my love language, and probably my office managers as well.
Okay. Yeah, we can do all of that. I know this is crazy to get into all of this on the podcast, but everybody needs to know what's available, right? I mean, things are evolving quickly.
Because there's a lot of CRMs that are just as bad as what we've been talking about of that sales pitch. They have a good talk, and then you get into it, and they don't deliver.
Right. Yep. No, I agree. Feel free to call me over the weekend, and I'll explain it. It's really, really cool, Melody.
See, this is another reason Jay, I'm listening to you, and I said, wait a minute. I have to talk to Jay about this immediately. And I said, wait, Judy, you're retired. Stop it. This is fabulous. Great resource. And you're up on everything.
Yeah, well, here's the thing,
That's
right?
so great.
It takes so much effort, as you know, organically, to be able to push people to your website. Well, once you get them to your website, it's just as much work to get them to convert. And this is a great way to convert.
See how much time they're spending on the website and what pages they're going to.
Yep.
And
no, that
they
too.
Exit from. And those are the important data points that you need to know.
Yep. But conversion's everything.
Exiting.
The thing that's cool about text, maybe the woman that I want to divorce happens to be 10 feet away from me in the kitchen. So maybe I just she's annoying me, so now I'm going to text you, right? Or it could just be, I'm not ready to have a conversation. I'm at work. My boss is over my shoulder. But I thought about this. I want to remember that I reached out to you. So I text you, and then boom, we start this conversation. I mean, what a way to bring people into the top of the funnel.
Well, it doesn't appear on your history and your email, which is important too.
Correct. Well, it does for them, actually.
On your Google.
Not on Google.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, it's very important. We that some people won't answer the phone, and I'm sure you guys have seen this as well. Is some people won't answer the phone, but they'll respond to a text.
Yep. I mean, text messages are read 91% of the time within 15 minutes. It's a known fact. If you text somebody, they're always going to see it. So, awesome.
They're crazy.
That's great.
Well, what a good one to end on.
Yeah, no doubt. Absolutely. Melody Swilling, she has a phenomenal farm. She's growing and growing and growing. She works in the North Atlanta market. So if you guys are down there, of course, shoot her a message through her website if you want to bribe her with lunch for some good ideas. She always likes to have lunch or coffee. And it's another episode of the Legal Authority podcast, right? So if you want a couple of resources that we have, I think the best one is the book, right? So I'll send you a copy of the book, no charge. You don't even have to pay shipping. Just go to thelegalauthority.com/book. You can go to thelegalauthority.com/podcast if you want to schedule a call with Judy or myself, and we can talk about what you're doing and give you our suggestions and see if we're a good fit for each other. And also, you can leave us feedback for the podcast. We'd love to hear what you guys want. Tell us what you want on future episodes. You can do all of that right from thelegalauthority.com/podcast. Melody, thank you so much for your time. I feel like we got lucky to even be able to talk to you because you're so busy.
This is so great. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Wonderful.
And I just got an email pop up that there's a website lead. So I feel like that's just serendipitous.
That is
right.
So cool.
That's right. Okay.
So cool.
Go get it.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Melody. You still have my number?
I do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Give me a call over the weekend, and I'll go through the what this marketing automation can do, and I'll have it set up for you by Monday.
Sounds great. Thank you.
You got it. All right. Melody Swilling, Judith Goldberg, I'm Jay Rathman. We're out until next time. The LegalAuthorityPodcast.com is where you can find us. Everybody stay safe. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you on the next episode.
Bye, Jay.
Thank you for listening to the Legal Authority Podcast. As always, you can hear us wherever you get your podcast. Please also make sure that you subscribe so that you're notified for each new episode. If you have a question that you'd like answered on the show, or to talk directly to Judy Goldberg, just go to thelegalauthority.com/podcast. Until next time.